Hi guys, we're starting out on our white chicken chili casserole by chopping up the vegetables that it calls for in the recipe. Here you see I've got a red onion out, use whatever color you've got, and I have a green pepper there, same thing. If you have red, yellow, orange, use whatever you've got. Now later on in the recipe I am not mincing my garlic because I opt to use my powdered dry garlic in this instance, so I don't have to worry about that. I pull out my stick of butter. This recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of butter, and one way you could get those calories down is maybe just try a tablespoon. And then it calls for your choice of using a combination of chicken and white beans, or she suggests doubling the beans for a meatless option, which is what I'm choosing to do today. You could also shore up the nutritionals on this by looking for low sodium beans or no sodium. Then moving over to the stovetop, you will want a big skillet, the biggest one you have that is oven safe. And then we're going to let the butter melt and the beans drain. Hi guys, Jackie from Famished Farm, and we're back in the kitchen working on the recipe stash while trying to keep these recipes healthy. Now to work our meal plan, which we've made up in advance, based on what we had in the kitchen, in the pantry, in the refrigerator, the freezer, and the canning shelves. We're trying to make sure that we're using items that we have that keeps us on our budget. So we made for the rest of the week grilled burgers, breakfast for dinner, an old Weight Watcher recipe I have for enchiladas, and the chicken cordon bleu sandwich that I talked about a couple weeks ago. Our new recipes, the one we're making right now, is a white chicken chili casserole. That is from All Recipes. And this one I would not put in normally in the healthy food category because there's a can of cream of chicken soup and a Jiffy box of the Jiffy cornbread mix. But because I made this for Meatless Monday, I kind of let it slide. And also it was just a gloomy, rainy day and it really seemed to fit. This is a very good recipe. Our second recipe, I have to read this because it's a mouthful. From Real Simple, a Hoisin, Serrano, meatballs, and rice noodle salad. So very good. The meatball sauce is excellent, and it's also the dressing for the salad. And finally, from sallysbakingaddiction.com, a Southwestern chopped chicken salad. So let's get back to making that white chicken chili, or in this case, white chili, and we'll see how this week goes. Thanks for being here. Now that the butter's melted, we're going to add our green pepper and our red onion, and we are going to cook that until it's translucent. They say about 4 minutes. And then once you've got that cooked, you're going to go ahead and add your garlic. If you've minced it, actually either way, but the minced one you'll want to cook it for about a minute. Then you're going to add any combination of your meat or beans. Again, mine, I'm adding 2 cans of white beans. And you're going to give that a quick stir, and then let's add in our spices. So our chili powder, our cumin, salt and pepper. Again, I always lightly salt, and in this case I didn't need the salt at all. And then a sprinkle of cayenne pepper. Do that to your taste. Stir that all up, let it cook for about a minute, then come in with your can of green chilies. I only used a half. And then the can of cream of chicken soup. Try to get the low fat, low sodium version. 2/3 of a cup of milk, which is divided in the recipe. Some goes into the cornbread mix. And then your little cubes of cream cheese. As small as you can get these, it will just be easier for them to melt into the dish. So you will want to stir this up good and then just let it get nice and hot and bubbly. And while that finishes getting ready, you can move over to your countertop or your island and start on the cornbread mixture. I'm just using the small box of cornbread. This is just for Rod and I. And you're going to mix in the rest of your milk, your egg, and if you're using it, that chopped jalapeno, which we decide to opt out of. And you're just going to mix that till it's nice and smooth. And then move over to the stove top. Give everything here a last stir. Make sure that cream cheese is all nicely incorporated. And then we're very gently going to ladle or spoon the cornbread mix over this hot casserole. And you just want to make sure not to press the cornbread too far into the mix. It will bake better if it's on top of it rather than deep into the casserole. And just scrape everything out of the bowl good. And then into your preheated oven, you'll put your casserole. I do decide, and it was a good choice, to put this on a cookie sheet. I wasn't sure how far up the cornbread would travel. And actually it was the casserole mixture itself that kind of bubbled over a little bit. And again, I'm using a smaller skillet, so if you have a great big huge gigantic one, you'll probably be fine. I baked it for about 25 minutes, and you'll see here I've got a toothpick that I'm going to use to poke that cornbread and just make sure that it is coming out clean, so we know the cornbread is cooked. And your casserole mixture will be nice and bubbly around the edges. This was very filling, guys. We put half of it into the freezer for our next Meatless Monday. Our Hoisin Serrano meatballs and rice noodle salad. This again was from the May issue of Real Simple magazine. This was delicious, guys. What I'm doing here, the recipe calls for 4 large Serrano chilies, which I don't have. This is an Anaheim pepper that I'm removing the seeds and the stem, and it's plenty big enough for us and the spiciness of this dish. I'm not sure how it compares a Serrano chili to a Anaheim heat-wise, but I know we picked the Anaheim, and for the same reason we picked poblanos. It's a milder pepper. We're not super spicy people. We enjoy the flavor, just not the heat. But we're gonna get this, again, get the seeds and everything out of it, and then we're gonna end up chopping this into pretty fine pieces. The recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground pork, and because I have ground turkey in the freezer, I'm opting to use 1 pound of ground turkey and 1 pound of ground pork. Now the ground pork comes in a 1 1/4 pound package, so I'm reserving that 1/4 pound. I'm gonna make some sausage and put that on pizza, so that will go back into my freezer till I'm ready to make pizza the next time. Into our pork mixture goes a 1/4 cup of hoisin sauce, 2 teaspoons of chili garlic sauce. I'm gonna use about a teaspoon of sriracha sauce, and then salt and pepper as you see fit. And then you're going to add approximately 3 tablespoons of your chopped chilies into the bowl. So from here, mix it however you like. I'm going to use my hands, my clean hands, to mix it. You do you. And then we're going to put these onto a cookie sheet. Roughly 24 balls is what the recipe calls for. I hate making meatballs, so I use my big ice cream scoop, and I make about 10. Now the recipe wants you to broil these. I bake them at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. So we're making our sauce now. We are going to cut and squeeze 2 limes, and then add a 1/4 cup of the remaining hoisin, a teaspoon of your remaining chili garlic sauce, which I didn't add any more, salt and pepper to taste, and then add in your chilies. I've got about 2 tablespoons there. And then you're gonna whisk this together with some olive oil, and it will take about 6 tablespoons of olive oil to make this dressing. Add it gradually and whisk each time. So let's go ahead and make then the rest of the ingredients for the salad. So they want you to take 2 large carrots and make them into matchstick size, which I of course have no patience for. Do the best you can. Mine were too big, of course, but still delicious. And then it calls for roughly 3 cups of iceberg lettuce, which I'm trying to use up this head of lettuce, so that's perfect. I'm just going to cut whatever's left of this head of cabbage of lettuce. And then the recipe also calls for a cup of English cucumber sliced. I have just a regular cucumber. I'm going to remove the bigger seeds from it and then slice it. So the recipe calls for going ahead and cooking to package directions vermicelli rice noodles. I don't have rice noodles, but I do have some angel hair pasta that will work just as well. And we're going to go ahead and get that into water and start the cooking process. And when that's done, transfer it into a colander and get it under some cold water to stop the cooking and drain it. Now we're going to reserve half of that sauce that we made for the dressing for the rice noodle salad, and the rest I'm just putting into the dish that I'm going to serve the meatballs in, so I can coat the meatballs with that sauce when they come out of the oven. We're going to start to prepare the salad, so we're just putting all the veggies, the carrots, the lettuce, and the cucumbers into a bowl. And then that 1/4 cup of dressing goes over the top. And about then is when I hear the timer for those meatballs. So I'm going to check the temperature on the meatballs and make sure those are done. And then I'm going to move back over to the salad and get that drained noodles into the salad and mix that all up. Mix thoroughly. Takes a little bit to get the noodles distributed. And since dinner is a little ways away, we're just going to put the salad mix into the fridge and have that be ready for dinner later. So I want to drain as much of this grease off the meatballs, so I've got some paper towels draining that, and I just dip the meatball on the paper towel before it goes into this bowl. The bowl is too small for the entire batch to be mixed in with the sauce, so I'm going to do it in a couple batches. Our final recipe is a Southwestern chopped chicken salad. This is by Sally's Baking Addiction, and this is a pretty quick salad to put together, and it was delicious. I'm going to do about half of the salad. So instead of 6 cups of lettuce and 6 cups of cooked chicken, I am just doing 3 cups of each of those. So here I am. I've just got a mix of chicken breast and chicken thighs that were already cooked, and I'm just going to throw that all in this big bowl. I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup of frozen corn that is partially cooked. I think I cooked it 3.5–4 minutes. I took some black beans out of the freezer, another 3/4 of a cup, and I've got a large slicing tomato that I'm just going to chop and put into the salad as well. The recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of diced red onion. I wish I had remembered to put that in half and do less than that. It's a little heavy on the onion, raw onion for Rod and I. Avocado, we're just going to use the whole avocado and dice that into the bowl as well. Then you're going to want to shred some cheddar cheese and put that on top, and we will mix that all in. You could also add some cilantro if that is to your taste. And then just mix those ingredients up thoroughly. So for the dressing, I'm going to kind of switch the order of the ingredients, and I'm using these pickled jalapenos instead of a half a fresh jalapeno, so I wanted the bowl empty as I kind of dice those up. And then we're going to be using a 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, And I used up all my fresh limes, so I'm just using bottled lime juice. Calls for 2 tablespoons of that. 3 tablespoons of your good olive oil. 2 teaspoons of honey. And 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. And I'm going to use powdered garlic instead of the clove of minced. And then 2 heaping teaspoons, mine are more like regular teaspoons, of my taco seasoning, that is low salt. And then you're just going to whisk the sauce together and dress your salad and mix thoroughly. Now the final ingredient we're using is not on any healthy food list, but if used sparingly, it adds good flavor and delicious crunch to the salad. So just put a couple little handfuls on your salad. My husband actually scooped it with full-size chips too. Guys, this was delicious. It made 1 full-size dinner and 2 lunchtime servings for 2 people. So delicious. So this white chicken chili casserole was delicious. It will go into the rotation. It, however, is not what I would call a healthy recipe. If you made a couple tweaks, it's going to help a little, but anything that uses cans of cream soup and cream cheese and Jiffy cornbread mix, you know, it's not so great. Now, what we did to lighten it up was we didn't use the chicken. We used just white beans. We used half of what the cornbread called for. We used just a small Jiffy mix of that. And you could certainly use Healthy Choice soup, which helps a bit. Use only a tablespoon of butter and no salt. Hoisin Serrano meatballs and rice noodle salad. That was at Real Simple magazine. These meatballs were so good, and we've got half the recipe in the freezer for another dinner. Now, the salad part of this was delicious also. I just in the future have made a note to only make a half a recipe of the salad because it doesn't keep well. I did have it for lunch the next 2 days, but I really was stretching that. Great flavor though, a big thumbs up from both of us. This Southwestern chopped chicken salad is a great summertime recipe. It's fresh, it's delicious. I love that it used Greek yogurt instead of a mayonnaise base for the dressing. We loved everything about it. It's just one of those things that is easy to make and will be on our rotation. A weekly rotation even. And guys, I'm not a food photographer, but that picture really does not do justice to how pretty this was. I tried using the food mode on my camera. That was a big fail, I guess. So back to regular pictures.